Hey, manufacturing world. I'm Wade Anderson with Shop Matters, sponsored by Okuma America. This podcast is created to discuss all things machining and manufacturing. Today, I'm here in the studio in Charlotte, North Carolina with Dan Parry and Cooper Ferguson from DP Technologies. You guys will probably know DP Technologies as the Esprit CAD software. Welcome to the studio, guys.
Thanks, Wade. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right.
Good to be here.
So, CAD software. I come from the programming generation back when I was doing 5-axis programming longhand without a CAD system. So tell me a little bit about Esprit. For people listening that's never heard of Esprit software, what is it? What do you do? What are your strengths?
So Esprit is really the premier programming software for creating NC code for CNC machines. And really what sets us apart is the fact that we're a full spectrum programming solution. So what that means is that we cover everything from wire EDM to 5-axis machining and everything in between. And there's really no other CAM developer that can tout those kind of facts with confidence. So that's really what sets us apart.
Okay. Cooper, tell me a little bit about your background. How long have you been in manufacturing in general?
So I got out of college in 2005 and been in manufacturing since then. Started with a family company.
One of the young guys.
Yeah. So I was starting out cutting wood and plastic, the easy stuff, and I think it was 2013, joined Okuma. Learned how to cut the metals and all that as an AE. Spent 5 years there, and the past year I've been at Esprit.
Okay, very good. And what do you do for Esprit?
Application engineer also.
Okay.
Help with programming, do some contract work, do support, some bigger projects too that we might talk about later. But
okay. And Dan, what do you do? What's your title at Esprit? How long have you been with the company?
So I've been with the company going on 10 years now, and I'm the applications manager for the East Coast. Manage 12 applications engineers here on the East Coast who have a variety of responsibilities from customer support to really high-level projects, engineering services for our customers, and really just a variety of applications related responsibilities.
Okay. So from an Okuma standpoint, one of the questions I hear a lot always revolves around post-processors. If I'm talking to a customer, talking about a machine tool, can I get a post for this machine? Tell me a little bit about how you guys approach post-processors and how you interact with Okuma from that aspect.
So post-processing really is one of the ways that we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace. And really what it's about is creating a global solution for our customers that is really comprised of several different components. So the post-processor is obviously part of that package, but there's also a very detailed machine definition model, which would be our digital twin of the machine. And then, of course, any relevant documentation that would coincide with the other components in the package. But that's all put together as a solution for a particular machine.
So I get a lot of questions from customers anytime we're talking about Okuma equipment. They always want to know, is there a post available for this machine, especially the higher technology machines? Does Esprit have posts for every machine model that Okuma builds, and how does that look?
Yeah, so thanks to the Okuma certification process, we do actually have solutions for Okuma's entire product line. And, this has taken us years to be able to build, and it's a result of us putting multiple engineers inside of Okuma to work side by side with Okuma in order to achieve the certification for all of their different products.
Okay, very cool.
So all those thousands of different variations that you guys can come up with at Okuma,
yeah,
we've got to have a solution for each variant of that.
Okay,
and that's where that happens is in the post.
And you guys control your posts yourselves? You don't have third-party
right.
resellers, things like that,
right.
Distributors?
No, we actually, the applications department are the ones that actually control the development of the post-processors. And the way we do that is through our relationships with the OEMs like Okuma, where we work specifically with the developer to have, or with the machine tool builder to have them tell us how the output needs to look, because historically we were relying on the customer for this kind of information. So, and in a lot of cases, really, I mean, especially if it's a new machine for the customer, they don't know what the output needs to look like. So really, historically, it was kind of the blind leading the blind on what the output needed to look like for a certain machine. So by leveraging our relationship with Okuma, we can have Okuma tell us exactly what the output needs to look like for a certain machine.
So tell me a little bit more about the relationship with Okuma. I know you guys are part of Partners in Think. Tell me a little bit about your involvement with it and how you work with that. How does that benefit you? How does that benefit the customer?
So our relationship with Okuma goes back almost a decade now. I was actually brought on with Esprit specifically to manage the Okuma project, and it was kind of a new endeavor at the time. We were
Did people think you were a Okuma AE for a long time?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because we were, and still today we have engineers who are stationed inside of the Okuma facility and almost function as Okuma engineers. I mean, we work side by side with those guys in order to develop our solutions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Cooper, you did a lot internally at Okuma. What's your involvement, or how did you work with the Partners in Think group and as an AE for Okuma?
Yeah, so I worked both sides of this equation, I guess. As a Okuma AE, Dan was always there to help with Esprit support, and we would reciprocate. So if he had a project to work on to check something with the post, I would help him with that. So it's really a good partnership, a good area to bring multiple services together and have one collaborative solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the sales model. How do you guys go to market? What does that look like?
So I would say 98% of our sales are done directly. So we have a direct sales model, which is really advantageous to the customer because it allows us to interface directly with the customer as opposed to having a middleman or another party in between. Okay. And really, this is all kind of based on our support, our customer support, which is one of the the big things that we sell on is the fact that we'll get back to a customer in 30 minutes or less. And a lot of CAM developers are just not able to offer that kind of service. And the way we're able to do that is by having a direct sales model where we're interfacing directly with the customer. We have applications engineers in all three of our offices across the U.S. So Charlotte, Chicago, and then of course we're headquartered in California, which allows us to cover all three time zones and really hold true to that 30 minutes or less of getting back to our customers for support.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about automation. Automation is a big kind of theme in industry in general these days. How's Esprit involved in automation?
Yeah, so just like you're seeing a trend for using robots and gantries and things, the hardware automation, we're seeing a similar trend on the software side. So we have a knowledge-based manager in Esprit that you can think of as 4 different managers: your cutting tools, default settings, speeds and feeds, and you can get interpolated data based on known data, and then the process manager. So the process manager is the big part of the automation. It's going to recognize features for you. So for a pocket, for example, I can recognize that pocket, know what it is. I can automatically choose the tools based on that logic built in, and basically have most of my part programmed for me with a couple clicks of buttons.
Okay.
We're working on a bigger project to do just that, and the initial goal here is 75% of the part will be completely programmed automatically. Working with a couple other developers, but it's a reasonable goal. It's something that we are seeing that can be achieved.
Okay, excellent.
So just to add to that, really what the knowledge base is about is about taking all that tribal knowledge that exists within companies. So when you have guys that have been there for decades and they're the ones who understand all the intricate details about part processing and the machines that are on the floor, it's about extracting that information and using the knowledge base to organize it in a way that it can then later be automatically deployed based on a set of rules that the user defines. And that's really where the automation comes in, is being able to have the software automatically interpret what type of operation needs to be deployed for a particular part.
So Okuma's got a mission statement that they passionately pursue a customer for life. And I think it's interesting. I recently heard about a situation you guys were involved with where you guys, as a partner, actually live that value as well. Tell me the recent deal that took place at Aerodyne.
Yeah, so we had a couple weeks scheduled for training up there. And I get there, and 20 minutes into the first day, we're learning that they're kind of in the weeds. They're a little behind on a part. They really need to get production going. They don't have a great time span for training. They need their guys working.
That's a common theme I see
even
when Okuma sends AEs to customers to do training.
Right.
A lot of times, if it's at their facility, it's hard to get that training time because production needs are always there.
Yep. So we have to be flexible. So I made a quick call, make sure everything's okay, and we ended up doing about 3 weeks of contract programming. And because of my background, I, again, double checked that it was all okay. Aerodyne agreed. I was able to run their machine. It was a VTM 2000 YB. They had basically 2 shifts, but only first shift was covered on this machine. So when first shift left, I kind of took over, and it was good. I like to be hands-on. I'm confident in the code that I'm putting at the machine. So all in all, it was a good solution. We helped out, and the 4th week we went out there and actually trained them.
This is high-tech piece of equipment.
Yeah.
It's a vertical 5-axis machine, right?
It is, and this was the first time they were actually using it for full 5-axis. This first time they were actually using it for CX type motion.
Fantastic.
It was the first opportunity because they were just now getting into using Esprit for it.
All right, excellent.
So, and really, I mean, what this situation highlights is the fact that we're not just selling software to customers. We are supporting them throughout their entire process. We're introducing them to things that maybe they haven't done in the past. And really, this is all possible because of our relationship with Okuma. That's where we've gotten access to the information, and we're able to then relay that to our customers and support them in all of their programming endeavors, but really anything in engineering services related, we're able to help them with.
What's new on the horizon? What's Esprit working on? There's a lot of buzz in the industry. I just returned from EMO, spent some time walking around the EMO show for a week and seeing some of the different themes, kind of taking place in the industry. IIoT, Industry 4.0, things like that are definitely kind of global buzzwords, but how does that affect you? What new products are you guys working on?
So the new version of Esprit is something that we've been working on for a long time, and it's it's just been a lot of hard work, and our customers have been waiting patiently for us to bring this new product to fruition, and it's really exciting because it's this particular version is a lot more technologically advanced than any previous version that we've released to our customer base, and we're starting to get it into the hands of users, and so far the feedback has been really positive.
Okay. So tell me more about it. Are you guys involved in AI, things of that nature?
Right. So that's one of the things that makes this new version of Esprit really exciting, is that we are starting to incorporate artificial intelligence into the programming process. And really what this does is streamlines the programming process for the user, and at the end of the day makes them more productive.
Okay.
But
can you walk through? Give me an example.
One
of
good example of that. You fully program a part on an MU 5000. All right. Maybe it has some round features that could potentially go to a lathe. You get it out to production. Your MU 5000's down. A few quick clicks, change the machine and the software. It does all the work for you. You're fully programmed on a Multis now, and take it out to the Multis because it's free. And
Okay.
it does all that work in the background. No one else can do that.
Wow, that's interesting. All right.
So really what makes that possible is what we refer to as machine awareness. So machine awareness is accomplished by being able to incorporate every intricacy about the customer's machine tool into our virtual programming environment. So everything from travel limits to acceleration, deceleration limits, spindle speed, tool change position, all those details are incorporated into our virtual simulation environment. And then that simulation environment can then communicate with the Esprit software in order to make decisions for the programmer and optimize the program.
Okay, fantastic.
And just like Okuma, you make the controls, the drives, and all that yourself. You can communicate better with it that way. We have the same concept. We make the post ourselves. We have the simulation engine ourselves, so we can have that communication back and forth instead of just one direction.
Okay. What kind of trends are you seeing in the marketplace? So I've been able to be part of some of the lunch and learns that you guys have done. You've done a few in Charlotte and some of the distributor locations as well, working with companies, quick change tooling and going from different machine models. What other trends do you see? What do you get involved with on a day-to-day basis that you think a certain part of the market segment may be utilizing, but a broader spectrum maybe is not?
I think one of the biggest trends is probably the mindset of doing more in one single operation. So I'm sure you guys see that too, not necessarily one single operation, but one machine. So as opposed to historically, programming the milling features of a part on a mill and then taking it to a lathe to do the turning side of it, or vice versa. You're now seeing more multifunction machines with multiple cutting paths and a whole lot of capability so that the customer can essentially load up a piece of raw material and machine the part complete in a single machine.
So we used to see a lot from people going from like a vertical machining center to a horizontal machining center and trying to make that transition of going vertical to horizontal and 3-axis to 4-axis. Now we're seeing shops go from creation, inception to straight to a 5-axis machine. They're kind of jumping that level of technology. They go from the days of cranking handles on a Bridgeport to eventually going to a 3-axis vertical mill. Now they're jumping straight into these higher levels of technology. The level of operator or level of skill that it takes a lot of times, you look at a Multis machine, those sometimes are 9-axis machines. What do you guys see, or how do you help that process to make it easier for people to be able to run these higher technology, multifunction type pieces of equipment?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of shops prepare for a future by getting a 5-axis machine. They might only use it as 3+2 or 4+1. So what we can help them do is be confident in the code. If we program a 5-axis operation and post it, it's going to be good code. So even though it might feel scary or something new that they can do, they can be confident in at least that portion of it. So a lot of shops, I think, with the market where it was recently, they're willing to invest in that high-tech machine, even if they aren't ready to use it yet. But as soon as they get a job that has that potential, they can say yes.
Okay. What about programming on the floor versus the office environment? Are you seeing most people doing everything kind of ahead of time in the office environment and taking it to the machine tool? Or are you still seeing a lot of shop floor programming?
We don't really see much shop floor programming anymore for a variety of reasons. Mainly because, like you're talking about, the machines are so high end, so complex, so expensive. They can't afford to be programming it on the floor and have the possibility of making a mistake. They want to be able to program it offline in a safe environment where they can see all the collisions virtually and be able to make decisions before they get in front of the machine, so that by the time they get in front of the machine, everything's proven out. You put the program in and you make the part.
Okay, very good. Any customer testimonials, anything that's been unique that you've worked on, here recently that, maybe the greater majority of machine shops haven't seen or been part of before? Any new technologies you guys have helped create?
This kind of would go along those lines, but there was a situation recently where there was a mutual customer of ours, and this particular situation is really symbolic of the relationship that we have with Okuma and why it's it's so important for us to depend on each other. But basically, there was a small job shop out in Arizona, and the guy was, getting into machining some more complex parts. He had some pretty intricate impellers that he was wanting to make that had some tight tolerances and, really hard to achieve surface finishes and things like that. It's a pretty challenging little impeller part. And so in order to, kind of step up in his business and, start making these parts that would pay a little better, he invested in a high-end Okuma machine, a MU 500 5-axis trunnion style machine, and started being able to program this challenging impeller part, and was quickly failing. He was making his programs, putting his programs in the machine, and was not making the part successfully. It wasn't dimensionally accurate. The surface finishes weren't there, and immediately he was blaming the machine. And I mean, he was to the point where he was almost ready to send the machine back. So this is where Okuma, the engineers in Charlotte, got involved, and of course they knew that they could make impellers on that machine. I mean, they do it all the time, So obviously there was something else going on here that wasn't right. And so what they did was they came to me and they said, "Hey, would you mind, making a program for this part?" And so I said, "Sure." And in the meantime, they had taken the customer's program and basically duplicated the same situation in Charlotte that he had in Arizona. So same machine, same program, same work holding, same tooling, everything. And set up the situation, and they made a part. And of course, using his program, it was a bad part, so that was confirmed. And then they loaded the Esprit program and ended up machining one of the most beautiful impellers I've ever seen. I mean, even to this day, it was a really good representation of the part. And of course, it was very eye-opening for the customer and for everybody, because at the end of the day, if you can have the most expensive high-end machine in the world, but if you don't have the right software to drive it, it might as well be a boat anchor. And, that's where, we really depend on each other, and we kind of need each other to help our customers be successful. And that was a really good example of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about communication? There's always kind of a buzz in the industry on communications, going from monitoring software or controls back and forth. I know Okuma does a lot with tool offsets and things with automatic communication. Are you seeing that feed into the CAM systems? Are you doing a lot with machining parts like in a semi-finished state, measuring, updating CAM information, and then reposting new tool paths?
Yeah, so we have a probing add-in that will do just that, and it's very easy to use. It's intuitive. If you program toolpath in Esprit, the probing add-in is very easy to use. But you can, potentially make a semi-finished cut, probe that surface, update your tool offset, and come back and get a finished cut. So that's going to be more accurate than just assuming that your offset's still good, of course. We can also probe like the stock that you put in the machine and update the work coordinate on the machine. So there's, we're using the Renishaw cycles for this, but that it's kind of a benefit because those are all proven. They're well worked out. There's no bugs in the system, if you say so.
Have you had any experience with non-contact measuring? Have you done any work with any of the companies that are doing like 3D scans of parts, things of that nature?
Not yet, actually. Okay. There hasn't been any. We are actually looking into some of that for possibilities for the future. But really, right now, with probing, our focus is in-process gauging, and we kind of avoided this area for years because we always looked at it as it's probing, leave it up to the probing experts, and they kind of had their own software and way of creating the subroutines, and it seemed to work well for everybody. But there was obviously a huge need to be able to incorporate probing into the CAM environment because the users want to make sure that, first of all, for collision detection purposes, that they're not going to, smash their $10,000 probe into the table, but also just for program verification to know that the probe is going to go and move exactly how they think it's going to move on the machine. So we ended up incorporating probing, and we support, obviously Renishaw is a big one, but Bloom and Marpos as well. We support, all the big probing manufacturers and allow the programmers to incorporate that into their process because, at the end of the day, it is part of the process, and they're doing everything else in our virtual environment, so that really should be part of it. So it's been a pretty big focus of ours for the last few years.
Okay. I talked to a customer, it's probably been 2 years ago now, but he was making assemblies and machining different components separately and then assembling them. And through the assembly process, the components never get mated together exactly right, basically. And what he was after was to assemble the final component, put that in the machine, and then go through and basically probe, measure all the different aspects of the geometry, and let that automatically feed back to the CAM system, update the update the model, basically, repost new code, send that to the machine, and automatically cycle the machine to actually do the finished machining of the part. Have you been involved with anything along those lines, that type of structure?
Really, that's the ultimate goal.
That's where it's going.
Is to be able to, to take that information, the probing information, and do things with it, like adjust offsets, or in this case, adjust the program. So that is definitely, on the horizon and kind of the direction that things are going with.
Closed loop, I guess you would say.
Exactly.
Closed loop programming.
Yeah, in-process inspection and closed loop programming.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys' time today. Appreciate you coming into the studio.
Thanks for having us.
Dan, if they wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way to contact you?
So the best way to contact us, I guess, would be through our website, which is espritcam.com. So ESPRIT and then CAM.com, espritcam.com.
All right. And I'm Wade Anderson with Shop Matters. Anytime you have questions or ideas for future podcasts, reach out to us. Till next time.